Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Standing on Business. We are here in the Blackstag Industries office yet again for another wonderful time. In our midst, we have Sara Schiavone, realtor here in the CNY area. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about your business, what it is that you specialize in, and
hmm
maybe it's kind of the type of realty that you specialize in.
Sure. Yep. So I'm a local real estate agent. I help buyers and sellers with their transactions. And so I focus mainly on residential real estate. I hold my license with Skinner Realty, which is a local boutique brokerage, and they're based out of Eastwood. I live in Eastwood. The broker lives in Eastwood. And so we love our little neighborhood there. My broker has done a ton of work in building up that area of Syracuse, but I do real estate all over the greater Syracuse area.
Awesome. So how did you get into realty, Sarah? What brought you to that
Yeah,
specific thing? Is that something you
yeah,
dreamed of as a
yeah.
kid
I
all those
like
years?
laugh a little bit because it was definitely like a winding road of like, I'm not sure if the dots really connect here, but I kind of stumbled into real estate. And I think it's funny because I think a lot of agents have that similar story. There's not a lot of agents that I know that grew up dreaming about being a real estate agent. There are definitely some out there. But I actually have my master's in public health. And so I'm not using that degree right now. Maybe some people have a similar story as that. And so the way I stumbled into real estate is I ended up getting a job with a local boutique brokerage without a license or anything. I was on a salaried position helping out with marketing and doing kind of odds and ends jobs. The brokerage was growing so fast, they needed help in a lot of areas. So while I was there, I got my real estate license. And so I didn't really intend to get into sales full time, but it was easier to have it. They also had a property management side of the business. So if I needed to help with leasing, different odds and ends things, that license allowed me to perform in those roles. So that's why I got my license. And so one thing led to another, and I ended up kind of moving into more of a leasing role within that same brokerage. And so they owned some buildings downtown, managed others, and we leased, I think, maybe over 400 units. And so there's a few leasing agents on staff. I became one of them. And I started having tenants reaching out to me to purchase a home. And so I helped them along those transactions too. Since I had my license, I could do it. I was kind of in the office, surrounded by agents all day, every day, hearing all of the stories. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And a few years later, I ended up leaving the salaried position and doing sales full time. And so that's kind of how I stumbled my way into real estate. But it's been so good. I have a daughter that's 3, and so it really allows me to be a mom and a business owner, and to kind of set up my schedule, have some flexibility, and grow the business the way I want to, and how I want to. Yeah.
What's something that people don't realize maybe about the real estate industry as a business, as something maybe someone's interested in getting into real estate,
Yeah.
maybe some kind of lesson that you've learned,
Oh,
a
yeah.
hard lesson fought basically.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I've learned so many lessons. Every transaction is totally different. So you learn on that level too of just problem solving, different ways to help your clients. But I think what people don't realize is that we are independent contractors. We are business owners and we're running our business how we see fit. Sure, we hold our license under a brokerage, and there's some benefit to working with a specific brokerage, sure, but you're running your own business. You wear all the hats when it comes to marketing or admin, and of course the transaction. Typical showing houses, negotiations, writing contracts, all of that. You are at the head of it all, and so I don't think I even realized that until I got into it full time, and so. Yeah, I think some bigger lessons that I've come out of it on the other side a little bit. I'm still learning, still growing. I don't think you ever really make it. I love to learn. But one of the first lessons I had learned is to just let go of the outcome. And I heard that somewhere in a podcast. Um, but it's just this idea of focus on what you can do today. What can you do well? How can you best serve your client today? And not worry about what is at the end of this road. Not worried. I'm not thinking about the commission check. Of course, this is my job and this is my livelihood. And this is why I'm, doing this. But how can I serve my client today? How can I let go of the outcome? Because some clients will decide, hey, I think it's better for me to rent at this point. I don't want to buy
Mhm.
after you've shown, 35 houses.
Yeah.
Or some clients will say, oh, I actually ended up getting a job out of town, so I'm not going to be ending up buying here. There's all sorts of reasons. Other clients, maybe we're not a good fit. I have had a client that just did not trust me,
Mhm.
was pretty combative in our conversations, and we just weren't a good fit. And so sometimes you just have to let go of what you thought it would be in order to move forward and where you're meant to be. And so letting go of the outcome. And I think that's a lesson for anybody in any business or just in personal life too, is just focusing on what is in your control today. Um, and I read this book recently called Unreasonable Hospitality. Have you heard of that book?
Who's it written by?
I don't know the author. I'm blanking on the name. But it's exactly what the title implies, is like just this idea of generosity being in the book focuses mainly on restaurants and opening restaurants.
Mhm.
But the idea is like in your service, whatever your business is, of going above and beyond, being unreasonable
Yeah.
in your generosity. And so I think that has really switched my mindset and how I serve clients. It's just every time I come across a new client, we have conversations. I'm really just zeroed in on listening. What are the pain points? What do they need? What would be a huge relief if I help them with this? Besides putting a sign in the yard and putting the listing up on the MLS, there's so much more to helping and serving. And so how can I do this better? And it's that saying of people forget what you did, but they remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And so I think that goes hand in hand of that, just being generous, whether it's helping them clear out their home. I've helped a seller like sell things on Marketplace just to get things. He was an older gentleman, and it was an overwhelming task. And I just wanted to have him have some relief. Um, I had another seller where we sat down at the listing appointment, and she had maybe under a half acre of land, and the house was tiny, so it was mostly just pure lawn. And I asked her if she had a ride-on mower. I just assumed she did, and she looked at me, and it was clear that she had a little bit of an attitude of like, "No, I don't have a ride-on mower." And I was like, "Okay, so you have a push mower?" And she's like, "Yep." And a little bit of a frustration, and her partner kind of smirked, and I'm like, "And how do you feel about that?" And she goes, "Well, I grumble and I'm frustrated on my way out the door. I do it, and then I grumble and I'm frustrated on the way in, and I take a shower and I forget about it." And so I just knew, okay, listing week, don't mow your lawn. I'm going to have it taken care of. There's a million other things you're going to be thinking of. You're going to be so nervous about how this weekend's going to go. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of traffic in and out of the house. And so that's just a small thing of she appreciated that so much. And that's not my job, technically, to maintain someone else's home. But I knew that that was just going to be a huge relief for her. And through, a big transaction, sellers, buyers, you're always nervous throughout it. And so I want to be able to spot, those areas where I can help. And again, like I think this lesson is for any business owner or anybody just in life, of like that generosity always comes back. You don't really know exactly how it will, but it comes back in other ways. Um, and so I think that kind of goes hand in hand of like, let go of the outcome, do what's in your control. How can you help and be generous in this? And then I think if lastly, just the persistence as a business owner, and maybe you can relate to this of just like having a vision and being persistent, even if the business is not there. Even
Mhm.
if the business isn't coming in, the clients, you don't know where they're going to come from. You just do what's in your control and you keep going and the business will come. And so it's really hard to see that at times for any business owner. And you're going to have opinions, and it might even be your own thoughts in your head of like, who would call me? There's this other real estate agent, there's this other business that they're going to call instead. There's room for everybody. And you just have to keep being you, keep doing it, keep doing the work, and the business will come. You have to ignore the noise. You have to ignore the doubt from others, the doubt from your own head, and just keep going, and it will work.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, I think those are the biggest lessons I've learned. I didn't grow up in a family of business owners. So when I kind of went off on my own to start real estate, it was a little bit of like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you can do this? And it's just like, I gave myself no other choice. Um, I I had my daughter in 2022, and that's also when I started real estate. Um, and so I had someone say recently, kind of like, you should be proud of yourself for kind of making it through the first few years. Most real estate agents, I think it's over 80 or 90% will drop out of the business within the first 2 years. Um, and and my response was, I didn't have a choice. And it's not that I didn't have a choice. There's a million ways to make money. I didn't give myself a choice, but to be successful. And I'm still in that place. I'm still growing, but I think it's just like the mindset is you really need to have a strong mindset when you move forward in any kind of business.
Absolutely. One
Yeah.
of my favorite books actually is Setting the Table by Danny Meyer.
Oh,
Talks
okay.
about a very similar thing. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're familiar with Danny Meyer, but
Mm-mm.
he's a billionaire now, but he started Shake Shack.
Oh, okay.
And started from
Yeah.
just basically the Meyer Hospitality Group.
Mm-hmm.
Started with one restaurant in the city, grew that portfolio into multiple restaurants, into then now
Mm-hmm.
the empire
Yeah.
everyone knows and loves, Shake Shack.
Yeah.
But that same exact idea,
Yeah.
it's all about hospitality. Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, I think that's a huge thing that many business owners forget.
Yeah.
Regardless of what business you're in, it's a people business.
Right.
And people will they'll forget maybe about the
Mm.
product or the service,
Yeah.
or how the specific outcome that you were hired to do might actually
Mm-hmm.
finish. But the way that you made them feel about
Mm.
conducting business with you, and having you almost as a relationship, if you will.
Right.
Those are the invaluable things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely true for a lot of people that many times we get focused on outcomes as business owners. People are
Mm-hmm.
focused on, okay, we need to sell the house, we need to buy the house, we need to make the content, we need to sell advertise the service,
Mm-hmm.
etc. But the process of actually how that gets accomplished, and the communication, the trust, the reputation that you build
Yeah.
for yourself, that's what people will remember, probably more oftentimes. And what we've learned as well is more oftentimes of they'll remember that, as opposed to how awesome the final product
Right.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And on the topic of the real estate market here
Mm-hmm.
in Syracuse,
Yeah.
what's kind of your hot take? I know everyone's got their
Oh
own
my gosh.
their
Yeah.
hot takes on that sector
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
living. And yeah.
Everybody's got an opinion on the market. That is for sure. It's like, it's small talk, right? It's like asking, talking about the weather in Syracuse. But it's definitely a seller's market for sure. And I think ever since I started in sales full time, it's pretty much been a seller's market. It comes in waves, like it definitely changes throughout the year. But, my goal, I'm not here to talk anyone into selling a house or buying a house. That's not my job. My job is to help my clients be successful in whatever they want to do. And so the only way to do that is to have a plan up front, to have expectations up front for buyers to know, what are they working with financially? What's their budget? What do they want? Where do they want to be? Like really narrow down what you're looking for, because then we can put a plan in place and get you there. It's a competitive market. You're going to be competing with other offers probably, unless it's a house that needs quite a bit of work or has a significant problem. Those are the ones that are sitting on the market. Um, but there's always a way to be successful when it comes to the buyer side. And then for the seller, again, you have to have a plan and prepare even in a seller's market. Okay, maybe your house will sell, but could it sell for 20,000 more, 50,000 more if you just did a few things up front? If you just put in a few thousand, $5,000 up front to switch out lighting or, flooring or paint or whatever. No one's doing a kitchen and bathroom renovation. It just doesn't make sense to put in that kind of money. But it often does make sense to do these little things to just freshen up a house. Not every buyer has the vision to look past what is there already,
Hmm.
and they just want to walk into a house that looks well maintained and cleaned, even if it's outdated. And so, sometimes I see sellers could be leaving money on the table by not putting that effort in upfront ahead of their sale. So yeah, it's a seller's market, but there's a way to be successful. There's always a reason to sell or buy. And so again, I'm not here to convince anybody, but families grow and you need more space, or you've raised your kids in this house for 30, 40 years, and now it's time to downsize. There's happy reasons to buy or sell. There's sad reasons. People lost a loved one and have to sell their family estate. And so I think that's another of walking through your clients through a monumental moment in their life. Um, and so, yeah, I think there's always a way to be successful in the sale, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. It's just having a plan ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you focus primarily in residential, or do you any commercial work as well, or is it mostly just families
Yeah.
looking for homes?
Yeah, I mostly do residential. I was definitely in the commercial space, more on the outskirts of it. I've learned quite a bit, but I focus on residential. I don't do leasing anymore, um, or commercial spaces. Mostly, yeah,
Gotcha.
residential.
Do you find that the people that are coming to you are mostly first time home buyers, or people that are looking to they're looking for their forever home, or they're looking
Mm.
for kind of the next, like what typically are the
Yeah,
clientele looking like?
I have definitely a mix of all of them. I have first time home buyers that are coming into Syracuse for work. And they just found a home recently. And so it was a little bit of a long road for them. But we were able to get something under contract for them. And so I had another client that was downsizing. They built their home, raised their kids in that home. And so it was definitely a bittersweet move for them. It was emotional. And some other clients who are outgrowing their space. So I would say it's a mix. I help everyone who needs to buy or sell. But it's definitely a mix.
What's some advice that you could give for someone that's maybe on the horizon of like, hey, I want to be a homeowner?
Yeah.
Kind of some advice you would give them in terms of maybe preparedness,
Yeah.
what they should be kind of preparing themselves personally for,
Mhm.
financially, kind of the road to becoming a homeowner.
Yeah. I would say, for home buyers is just setting that expectation up front, really looking at your finances, getting connected with a good lender to go over your finances, over your budget. I don't know my buyers' finances like they do. And so they really have to give that a good look. I only work with what they're telling me, what their lender is telling me. And so that is step one. What can you afford comfortably? Because even a lender can lend, maybe above what you're comfortable with. So you really have to narrow that down on what you want to spend. And then from there is just setting expectations of, okay, where do you want to be? What are the neighborhoods you want to be in? What size home? Like, what are the types of homes that fit in your budget? And what does this look like? And then really helping them along. Like, it's not just price that wins deals, it's also the terms of the contract. So explaining all the different terms of a contract and what they mean, knowing them up front, and just communicating that along the way so there's no surprises. But yeah, the best way to be successful is you need to narrow down financially what makes sense for you, where you want to be, and then what fits into that budget. And then go from there. And then every house is different. Some houses have a little bit more attention and traffic than others. But I'm we can't be afraid of the competition. You just have to put your best foot forward. And if it doesn't work out, you have to let go and keep moving and know that there's new houses every day, every week. There will be the house that's meant for you. And I don't know if this is like a little woo woo or what, but I swear every client that I've had that have lost out and has been so disappointed in losing out on a house, they always end up in the house that they are more thrilled to be in than anything that checks all their boxes and plus some. Whereas maybe the first one, they would have had to sacrifice on a couple things. So it's amazing to see that road, and to know the end point. And sometimes I can see that before my client sees that. And so part of my role is just encouraging them that, I'm really sorry this one didn't work out, but I know that there is a house that's going to be just right for
Yeah.
you, and we just don't know what that's going to look like yet. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, but it's coming.
Yeah, everything works out for the better in the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, it really does.
Yeah. What are some hot neighborhoods right now in Central New York? And
Mhm,
maybe this is, I guess, a two-part question. Do
mhm.
you service basically all of Onondaga County any further than that, or kind of what's your area of speciality?
Yeah, I'll go outside of Onondaga County. I've gone as far as Cooperstown, and south towards Cortland. I don't go there often, but mostly the greater Syracuse area. And so I would say it seems like Camillus, Marcellus, seem to be pretty hot neighborhoods right now. And
Absolutely.
yeah, you're in Camillus, so that's pretty cool for you. But yeah, so those are it. There's just so many new construction homes in those areas too. They go really fast. When I'm say houses are going for 50, sometimes I've seen houses go for 100,000 over. Um, it's happening all over, but it seems to me that Camillus and Marcellus are pretty hot right now.
Do you kind of see over the course of the years, do you see kind of a shift or kind of the direction, or do you think it's going to continue being that kind of market where people
Mhm.
are paying over asking?
Yeah, I really don't see that slowing down at all. I can never predict. I don't have a crystal ball, but Syracuse is growing. We just don't have enough housing. So it comes down to supply and demand. And that's why it is what it is. We don't have enough houses out there for sale. We have more buyers than sellers, and that's driving the prices. And so I don't see what would slow that down, especially if Micron happens. We're bringing, bigger businesses in. Syracuse is growing, exploding. People are moving here. We just need more housing. So I really don't see it slowing down. So it's always that saying of like, yesterday was the best time to buy, um, just because it'll the housing prices are just going up so fast.
Yeah, for someone that's maybe interested in doing investment, that's the time would be now before, like, if the
Hmm.
Micron boom happens. And
Right.
I do sense, and this is funny because every person that we have to come
Hmm.
on, we everyone's is sharing in that kind of optimism
Yeah.
that Syracuse is on a kind of an up and up and a
Yeah.
rise. And I think especially with real estate, because everybody
Hmm.
needs homes, everyone's got to live somewhere.
Yep.
If a ton of people, I think they said 50,000 or whatever, 30,000 jobs
Hmm.
that it's going to bring into the area, it's
Yeah.
people are going to need a place to
Where are
live.
they gonna go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's so I think in terms of the I guess the greater question here in all of this is, do you see that people that are like looking to buy a home right now today, or they're saying like maybe in a couple of years, what's the kind of advice that you would give somebody like that? Continue
That's not
planning for the
sure.
future, or
Yeah. Yeah. I think it goes back to I'm not here to convince anyone, but I am here to give them the options and kind of what I see happening. And so financially, and again, everyone needs somewhere to live. So if someone needs a place to live in Syracuse, then you're buying, not you're buying or you're renting.
yeah,
And so what's the better option for you today? And so it really is a case by case basis. I want what's best for my client. And sometimes renting is the best option for them right now. So it really just comes down to, what does this look like for you? If you want to wait a couple years, sure. But, the housing prices are going up significantly every year. So the houses you would be looking at today are probably going to be different than the houses you're looking at in a couple years.
yeah. Could
at the
you
same
Yeah.
price point at least.
Could you weigh in a little bit about that a little decision that people make between renting, buying,
Hmm.
the financial kind of ramifications of, because
Yeah,
you pay your rent, yes,
right.
and there's no, you're not on the hook for a home that's 400,000, but once you pay
Yeah,
that money, it's like a bill, it's gone,
right.
as opposed to investing
Yeah,
into something that's yours. Kind of
yeah.
where's your outlook on philosophy in that stand?
Yeah, I think some there's house maintenance, right? With owning a home, you have to maintain a house, and that can get really expensive. You got to buy a new furnace, you have to put on a new roof, maybe you have to do some renovations inside. Some people just don't have that cash up front to take care of that maintenance. And so it might be better or wiser to rent until you can save to get in a better financial position to maintain a home. And so renting, obviously, you're not putting any money away towards ownership of a home. You're paying off someone else's mortgage. But again, a case by case basis, owning home can be expensive too. And there is a lot of out of pocket costs, home insurance, taxes every year. You got to mow the lawn. It's just like people don't think about the everyday things that can really add up versus renting. The landlord takes care of all that. Something goes wrong and you need a new furnace, the landlord's taking care of that. The landlord's, taking care of a lot of those regular maintenance items. So it's really just a case by case basis of, what is your financial situation? Do you have some reserves to help maintain a home properly? And improve, like it is your investment, so you want to be able to maintain your home so that investment grows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the wisest or more wise things that I've heard on that kind of subject is the fact that a lot of people they think that because they're getting a mortgage on something and they're going to be owners of that home, that in reality they're not owning that home, the home is
Hmm.
owning them,
Yeah.
because now they're overextending themselves financially,
Yeah.
and also considering kind of the quality of life as well, because now
Hmm.
you're stressing about your mortgage
Yeah.
and the expenses of home ownership and,
Right.
and all those things. And it does if you just look at a purely financial side of things, like
Hmm.
paying to live somewhere versus you're paying to then be the owner of where you will, and then that could be a financial asset later on in life, either
Hmm.
as a second line of mortgage or
Yeah.
doing,
Hmm.
selling the home, making profit, etc. But over the course of owning that home for 20, 30 years, it's just been a headache and a
Yeah.
stress every single month to make sure that
Yeah.
you're paying your mortgage, etc.,
Right.
overextending yourself
Yeah.
to get into that dream home, and
Right.
in the end it's
Yeah.
it's a nightmare.
Yeah. House poor, right? Like if
Yeah.
all of your finances are going towards the home, maintaining it, updating it, or maybe not even updating it, just simply maintaining the home, and you can't go on vacation, you're having trouble buying groceries, you can't do some other things that you want to do. Like that's where like you have to zero in on your budget. It's not just what the lender can lend. What makes sense for your lifestyle that you want to have. And so that's not fun to be house poor.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
one wants that. So, sometimes renting does make more sense. I did have a client who was thinking about purchasing, and because of the competitive nature of the market at the time and now, but he decided to rent, and he had a whole spreadsheet. Like he was very like numbers oriented, and he goes, you know what? I'm really not saving any more money if I were to buy at this price point than if I just rented. Obviously, your investment grows somewhat, but he incorporated, like the 8 or 9%, equity in the home and all of that. So he decided to rent. And so that's what made more sense for him at the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the other side of it too is that we don't make it just a pragmatic decision.
Yeah.
We mix emotion into it as well.
Yeah.
Of like, I want to own a home, and I want
Yeah.
to, everyone wants to be a home ownership, and
Yeah.
I think that everyone wants to have home ownership, and everyone wants to be an owner
Yeah.
in most senses. But
Mhm.
sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
a lot of people nowadays, especially too, with just the cost of
Mhm.
everything going up, I
Right.
think a lot of people get priced out of being a homeowner, especially with
Yeah.
interest rates now and
Yeah.
getting financing.
Yeah, yeah, even just the price of homes, like, to get something that's livable, small, you're talking probably between 2 and 300,000
Yeah.
for just, your starter home,
A box.
which is kind of crazy to think about
Yeah.
how it's just grown in the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's definitely something someone has to think about. And home ownership is great and it is something to be proud of. I bought my home in 2008 and I'm so glad I did at the time. It was right before, or right kind of when things started really kind of getting out of hand. But I love being a homeowner. I love mowing my lawn. I love, dusting, I'm so thankful to have a home. Um, and it's just been great. I love my neighbors, love my neighborhood, go for walks, and it there is something behind like that emotional connection of just like I did this, I bought this home and I'm so proud, I'm so proud of it. So, there's definitely benefits to both sides, but of course, you want it to fit into your budget
Of
and
course.
and be comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing it back kind of to home, talk to me a little bit about the work-life balance as a realtor
Mhm.
and what that means for you and in your family and how you
Yeah.
kind of manage all of that.
Yeah, yeah. So every day is a little bit different. Sometimes I manage it well, and sometimes I don't. And so it's just kind of going with the flow. But yeah, so I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she is the happiest, most joyful child I've ever met in my life. I know I'm being a little biased, but ever since she was born, she just like wakes up happy. And so, I have her, and then I have a dog, Nellie. She's a ginormous dog, half Great Pyrenees and half Bernese Mountain Dog. And so,
Wow, that's a mix.
yeah, yeah. And so it's just us girls at home. I'm a single mom. I consider myself a stay-at-home mom too. I don't have daycare or anything. I have family that helps when I need them to help, for showings and stuff. And so I'm very careful on like a lot of clients don't even know, that I have a daughter because I never want to come up with, oh, I can't do that because of this. My clients are very important to me
Hmm.
too. So they never kind of really see the back end of like juggling everything. Um, but yeah, some days are just I need a little bit more help than others. A lot of times there's not much going on in real estate in the morning, besides answering calls, texts, emails, all of that I can do from wherever I am. Um, and so I had someone tell me early on of like, you're probably going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice time with your daughter. You're going to have to sacrifice. You're probably going to have to get a nanny or daycare or something in order to make this work. And on the other end of things, there's a woman in my industry that her saying is, don't burn down the thing that you built your business for. And so I'm building my business for my family ultimately, to give my daughter a good life, to be able to do fun things and all of that. And so I don't ever want, especially these younger years, like to just fly by and me think like, I don't remember any of it. Where was I? I was always working. I was always running around. And this job is a lot of running around. But bringing that balance in, like there are a million ways to build a business with the internet and AI and everything we have at our fingertips. We can build our businesses more efficiently than we ever have. And at just keeping that in mind of, okay, one thing I'm not going to sacrifice is my time with my daughter and being a good mother to her just to build, a multiple 6-figure business. And so I always have to kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, sure, some days and weeks are going to be busier than others. But what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? Do I have to say no to some things, some opportunities, some clients that aren't a good fit, to open up avenues for clients who are? Sure. Um, so, where I do maybe sacrifices on a little bit of sleep. So at night after her bedtime, I'm often on the computer from, 7 or 8 o'clock, sometimes till 2 in the morning. Or I get up early and I'm, scheduling out all my texts for the day. I've like just discovered that you can schedule texts a few
Oh, that's
months
great.
ago.
Yeah.
And so I think of all the people I have to contact, and it's usually in the middle of the night or in the morning. So I can
Hmm.
just schedule them out instead of,
Having
forgetting
to
the next
forget. Yep. Yep.
day.
Oh yeah, I love that feature.
Yeah. So that's worked really. And so it's just finding all these like what tools fit into my life, what helps make me a little bit more efficient. And even again, like working with clients, setting expectations up front really helps you be successful earlier on and helps for a smoother transaction. So, um, it's just learning, every day I'm trying to just learn and grow and get better. But I don't think you're ever really in perfect balance. It's just being able to kind of take the waves as they come and to just go with it and reel yourself back in if you feel like things have gotten out of control a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's been really good. It's been a really good career for me as a mom. And I love being home with her. So yeah, it's been really good. It's doable for sure.
Yeah. I love that kind of notion, the thought you said there of don't burn down the thing that you're building for.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, especially for business owners,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times you get caught up in the I want this
Mm-hmm.
business to go well and I want it
Mm-hmm.
to grow,
Yeah.
because you have the expectation of if the business is doing well, then I'm going to be able to do the things I want to do
Right.
in my free time and my
Yeah.
personal life. But what ends up happening is that in the process of that you're actually
Mm.
destroying your free time and your personal life because you've
Yeah.
kind of created a monster, if you will.
Yeah. And then
Um,
once you get there, once you've made it, who's there to
who's
celebrate with
there?
you? And
Yeah.
so relationships, your family, so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's such a big lesson to learn early on. It's just not worth it. It's not worth to sacrifice
Absolutely.
the friendships and relationships that you have.
Yeah. I think especially, if you look back on your life, right? And then you say, like, exactly like you said, like, where was I? I was at work. I was,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time that it's all said and done, that the thing is built,
Mm-hmm.
it's what you wanted it to look like. And now you're, 60 years old and,
Right.
yes, you have the, as they say, the
Mm-hmm.
twilight years now to enjoy,
Yeah.
but the time when you're, young and able to have fun with your kid and
Right.
have fun with friends and take
Yeah.
trips and do those things and have energy,
Mm-hmm.
they're long and gone.
Yeah. These
And
are
yeah,
these are the good old days. You just
yeah,
can't forget it. And maybe that means your business grows a little bit slower, or maybe that means you find other ways to be more efficient in your work. There's always a way. There's millions of ways. And what works for someone else might not be the avenue for you. And I think that's similar, like real estate. It's like, okay, you got to come to the office, you got to cold call all day, and you got to go door knocking all day. And like, that's just not for me. And that's not how I'm going to build my business. That might work for somebody else, and that's great. I'm not knocking those things. But I think that's where you really gotta like tune out some of the opinions that are not for you, and what does work within your lifestyle moving forward. So,
yeah. I think a lot of times too, people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you want to grow your business,
mhm,
and literally your success is based on you, kind of your, like, you have the idea or notion that your success is based on your performance,
mhm,
and you have to do more and more
mhm,
and more to get more,
yeah,
essentially. I think sometimes people, like, that's where you kind of, like, some days, I don't know if you ever have this kind of
mhm.
thought. Some days I think to myself, like, I wish I was just working a salary job instead of
Yeah, I do.
it would be much easier. And I think
Yeah,
that that's unless you're really in the like, not the
yeah,
struggle, but kind of the grind
yeah,
of a business, that you'll never understand that kind of
yeah,
idea.
yeah. It's so
I
true.
think it's a necessary thought for every
It's
business owner.
being a business owner, you are either working or you're thinking about work. It
Hmm.
never leaves you. And so it is like, how can I be present where I am right now? Am I with my clients? How can I be fully present with them? When I'm with my daughter, how can I be fully present with her? And it does not always work out. There are some really hard days where I'm with my daughter and like I feel so bad about how often she sees my face in the phone. But not every day is like that. And so I think people don't realize, like, when you're at a family event, you're probably still thinking about work in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And so it's never off. I did have like an office desk job at one point in my life. And sometimes I think about that job of like, oh, I would get up and get my coffee, and then we had a cafeteria and the chef would make my breakfast. Then I would answer my emails, and I taught myself calligraphy because I was not very busy. And at lunchtime, I would go to the weight room and I'd work out, and the trainers would set up my workout for me. And I'm like, that was living the life. I was making like poverty level, salary. Like I wasn't able to do anything outside of that job because I
Hmm.
wasn't making any money. There was no growth. I wasn't learning. Um, and so sometimes I think on the hard days, I'm like, oh, that was the life. But it wasn't. It wasn't. At the time, I wanted to leave because I wanted growth. I wanted to learn. It's okay to have ambition and to want, have a vision for your life and have goals. It's just important to also have them in check and to have, balance in the other areas of your life too.
Absolutely.
Have hobbies for yourself. Over the winter, I started a pottery class. And so once a week, I called it my time out. And so once a week for 3 hours, my hands were full of clay and no one could contact me. No one could yell mommy. No one could, my phone was away, which was like, I don't think I have had my phone away for that length of time during the day in years. And it was so good for me to just tune out and do something else once a week for 3 hours. So it's important to do that for yourself too. And I
Yeah.
think building that creativity also just helps you grow in other ways in your business too.
So in terms of the way that the you said boutique realty, so
Hmm.
the brokerage that you work for
Hmm.
with, how does that kind of structure work, and how does
Hmm.
that work for you in terms of just for someone that maybe is interested in the real estate space and kind of
Hmm.
different structures of different businesses? Because
Yeah.
technically speaking, it's kind of like your
Hmm.
own business,
Right.
and you're kind of under this umbrella, if you will.
Yeah.
Can you give me a
Yes.
little more information on that?
So real estate agents are independent contractors and we have our license and we have to hold our license with a broker. And so I hold my license with a Skinner Realty. And in exchange, there's always some sort of exchange for holding your license, a commission split, and then maybe some services that your broker offers you. So every brokerage is different. And there's larger ones, smaller ones. I'm at a smaller boutique brokerage, like I said, but there are also team structures out there. I'm not on a team, but there are agents within a brokerage that will be team leaders, take on agents as under their team and help them along the way, mentor them, offer them leads and clients. There's always some sort of exchange, right? With your commission split or a referral fee in exchange for something that adds value to your business and helps you move forward. So for me specifically, I'm not on a team. I just hold my license with my brokerage. I work out of my home mostly when I'm not with clients. I do have the ability to go to the office whenever I need to. But I often, just pop in and out. I don't really need to stay there. So again, every brokerage is different. Every agent is different on how they build their business. Some agents enjoy, having a set, office hours throughout the week to give them structure and a plan. So I don't know if that helps answer the question a little
Yeah.
bit.
What kind of made you go with Skinner, and kind of the what
Yeah.
attracted you there?
Yeah. So I actually moved over to Skinner Realty just about a year ago, I believe. And one thing is he's an Eastwood guy and it's in Eastwood, so it's local to my neighborhood. And he's done so much to build up that neighborhood and James Street. And then I think the other biggest benefit for me is how is holding my license with the brokerage going to serve my clients better. And so one of the ways that Skinner Realty does that is he has a whole staff of guys that can help with repairs on a home, clean outs, updates, paint, anything that my clients might need for a smoother transaction, for a better transaction. I can just pull from those guys and they can help get things done. And so that's a huge relief for me and for my clients when we know, even if things come back throughout the transaction, whether it's on an inspection or appraisal, we know that everything is figure outable, problems can be solved. And I have the guys, I have the staff, I have the group that can help get it done. So that was a huge draw for me is just having that help whenever I need it. And it has been it's been huge for my clients so far.
Awesome. What does the future hold for Sara Schiavone?
Yeah, gosh, I'm still in my growth phase, so I hope to continue to grow in real estate, and build a bigger business, more efficient business, a business that maybe I am able to hire some help underneath me, and I'm just like loving being a mom and a mom to a toddler. It's just been the best, absolute best. And we have a trip planned to Italy later this year for about a month.
Very cool.
So that's a big time out for me. That's like I dream about it every day, just can't wait. Um, and so yeah, that's what's in store for this year.
Awesome. We always like to ask our guests this question. Our podcast is called Standing on Business,
Mhm.
and kind of the idea behind that phrase is what are the things that you stand on as a business owner, as a person in the entrepreneurial space. So I always like to ask that question, kind of what is the ethics, or what's the
Mhm.
values that you stand on,
Mhm.
every single day? What gets you up in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it's just as I mentioned earlier, it's just how can I be generous with the people around me today? How can I be generous with my clients? How can honesty, integrity, communication. This is not sales for me. This is serving my clients. And it's a huge honor to walk through such a pivotal, monumental moment with every client. Buying or selling a home is emotional, whether it's happy or bittersweet or what. And so whatever my gifts are, I'm here to give them away. And so, um, yeah, I just want to wake up every day and see, the needs of my clients and serve them well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. It's been awesome to get to know you, get to know your business as well. Friends, this has been another amazing episode of Standing on Business. If you have anyone that you know, or you are a business owner, entrepreneur, organization leader here in the Central New York area, we want to know you. We want to get to know your story, and we want to give this space not just for Black Stag and not just for Sara Schiavone, but anyone here. We want to build a community of telling you the stories that are out there, because they're definitely out there. So please like, subscribe, share, all those fancy words that people like to use. And if you have any suggestions, please reach out to us at Black Stag Industries. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.